Hey man, get the away from those. Jeez man, you never seen a set of cone valves before? Hey everybody, welcome back to Inside Enduro. We're gonna do a part 2 on the KTM Sherco battle. Man, we had a lot of comments. But you guys have to remember, when I started out the last video, I said, hey man, these are 2 awesome platforms. I mean, really guys, how many dicks can one guy stick in his mouth? So anyways, we're gonna try it again. A lot of you complained that, hey, the KTM wasn't sexy enough. And you know what? This is my KTM, and it's a sexy bitch too. But we still have the Sherco, it's here. And there's an interesting story. We had some comments, why would you trust me? Honestly, I don't know why you would. I don't even trust me. I wear a condom when I jack off with myself. So be careful who you trust. But we'll give you a little bit of history. I've definitely been a KTM guy forever, from when they weren't cool, when they were exotic. And quite honestly now, the KTM is the GMC and Ford of the industry. You can get parts anywhere that is awesome. And actually the KTM, if you ask me, they're the innovator. They essentially were kind of the beginning of hard enduro. Their platform is excellent, their manufacturing is excellent, and they've killed it. And that's why so many people ride these bikes, as they should. But now things have changed a little bit. It's still an incredible platform. Go to the Sherco. Sherco's a little more exotic. It's from France. As we said, a lot of things come from France.
Really, smarty pants, what did French land give us?
We invented the democracy, existentialism, and the blowjob.
Those are 3 pretty good things.
Hey.
Well, that last one's pretty cool.
That was from Talladega Nights, actually, so I did steal that. So why did I get to go to KTM in the first place when I could have got a Yamaha or a Cowie or a Honda? It was exotic. It was a little different. It was a little outside the box. I'm the biggest KTM fan there ever was, probably. 1991, got my first KTM. It was a late 80s 640 LC4 4-stroke. It's stall if you looked at it. Then I graduated to the 1994, which was my first brand new dirt bike I had ever purchased. And for a kid growing up in a trailer court, rented trailer, not cool, it was my first new bike. And it was a 550 2-stroke. Why did I buy that? Did my skills necessitate that? No. I was a young guy and I bought it because it was the biggest fucking meanest thing out there. And I paid the price. But anyways, I've gotten a little bit smarter. After the 1994 white purple-headed monster beast of the 550, we go on to all the various editions of the exotic KTM, from mint green OEM seats to mint green plastics to red frames, white frames, all sorts of crazy stuff. They weren't cool then. And then we fast forward to 2021. 30 years I've been riding KTMs. I've qualified and raced Erzberg on a TPI. 2019. 2020 was canceled. I'll be there in 2021. I've raced 3 Romaniacs, carbureted KTM, 2 TPIs. Spent a little bit of time on the KTM. I, if anyone, is a fanboy as well. So anyways, we're gonna look at, this is my latest before the Sherco race bike. So we thought we wanted to compare and go, all right, we're showing a stock. Some of you said, compare a 6 days. That's more apples to apples. And you're probably right. So I'll give you credit on that. Oh, and one other thing I wanted to address, a lot of you guys out there are like, oh, who can use all the power of a 300? Dudes, we're not talking about being on the pipe. You get any one of these on the pipe, it's like, ah! We're talking low range, mid range. That's what I mean about power. So maybe it's not overall power, but maybe consistent power all the way through. Because every 300 has enough power to rip your goddamn arms off if you want to let it. But you do have a clutch for that. So remember that, it's important. So, what do we have here? What we have here, this is a sexy beast. There is no doubt. So this is what I raced TKO with. This has basically been my setup for the last 2 or 3 years for Romaniacs, Erzberg. I travel over to Romania, Austria with my suspension, with all my hard parts. So here it is. The base of this thing is a 6 days, as you can tell by the beautiful orange frame. And I love it when KTM has an orange frame. This is a year they put a black frame. Some years they put an orange frame on the regular XCWs, and then they don't do it for a couple of years to sucker everyone in who wants the orange frame. I was one of those suckers every year. So, but let's go down to kind of a price, what this bike set up for me personally to race. And what you're looking at, you can go and start right off the base. 6 days, you're looking at least 11,000, 11,200 if you can find one. So it's really not fair with the COVID year. Usually you can find them, but it's a tough year for all the manufacturers, obviously. But we got the PHDS handlebar clamps, which are around $275 to $300. We have a set of cone valves. These beautiful things done up by the ride shop. They don't pay us, we pay them again. Strange, hard to believe. About 4,200 bucks. Come back to the track shock with the X-Trig adjuster. You're looking at over 3,000 bucks. You're looking for a couple $100 for the Cell de Val seat. You're looking for the pipe, additional 250, 300 bucks. Spark arrestor, another 200, 250 bucks. Talon rims, front and back, not including rotors, over $800. X-Trig rocks, triple clamps, $800 plus. Renthal bars, getting up close to 150, 160 bucks. Hinson cover, another 180 bucks. We have the Raptor foot pegs. You look in 350. These things are awesome. Be careful in the forest though. When these things hit rocks, apparently it's like a 3,800 degree spark that will virtually light anything on fire. And on my own property, I did start a fire. Sphincter tightener for sure. Got it out.
I said, oh Lord Jesus, it's a fire. Then I ran out. I didn't grab no shoes or nothing, Jesus. I ran for my life. And then the smoke got me. I got bronchitis. Ain't nobody got time for that.
Running a Metis rear, Golden Tire front. Obviously running Mooses as we do for most of these races. Fan, which was extra. The fan's an extra 250, 260 bucks. Obviously I've put on my graphics. Super B battery. It's about close to a $300 battery, but that thing will run the fan all day and the starter all day no matter what. Kevlar grips, pretty slick setup. The bike is excellent. I would argue that this is just about as factory as it gets. True factory, except for the one major thing, which this is why I am currently racing a Sherco. The ECU. I can't get a factory ECU. I put a $1,200 Get ECU race kit on this, and I raced it in the King of Motos of 2020, and it was the first DNF I've ever had in my life. The race kit, it burned through on the cylinder head, burned through to the fuel pump wire, killed the bike in its entirety. And thank you, Kendall Norman, Kevin McCarthy, drove a UTV out 4.5, 5 miles in the desert, threw the bike in like a dead salmon and drove it out for me. And I really appreciate that. Thanks, guys. That isn't necessarily the KTM fault, but the problem was I still could not tune whether the air screw, which you guys can argue all day long, doesn't fix it. Does not fix it. So, hey, we'll just agree to disagree. That's why I did the Get ECU. So the true failure in this was the Get ECU. It wasn't actually the KTM. But I would argue that I would have never put the Get ECU on if I didn't have a problem with the bike to begin with. The channel should add up all these parts and you'll see a price tag on this bike to get this bike set up like it is. Also skid plate, heavy duty AXP skid plate. You don't need linkage guard because you got the PDS. Just because of that, I think I prefer linkage and the faster, rougher stuff than the PDS, but the PDS is so easy to work on. less moving parts. It's a pretty awesome thing. You don't need linkage protection. I dig it. You can argue whether the PDS is better than the linkage, or, you know, if you can ride better with the linkage over the PDS, but I always kind of look at it. I really do like the PDS, and I always will. You could argue that Graham Jarvis on his Husky has linkage, and that dude can get over anything. Graham Jarvis makes it work. Why can't we all make it work? But he's the GOAT, man. He's the hard enduro GOAT. Graham. Anyways, so when we go over to the Sherco, we did this. We're not going to do the whole point because we're just basically saying, hey, these things are all for fun, like I described before. You know, you like vanilla ice cream all the time? Man, one day you rock up and you're like sherbet rainbow all day long. So maybe you choose something different. And this is maybe what these bikes are for. But I can tell you what, I've got 50, 60 hours on this platform and they have not let me down. I've drowned them apparently. I don't even recall. Yes, I have drowned. I've drowned a KTM as well. But I've drowned them. I've dropped them hard in the rocks. And they're still kicking on strong. But when you go and you look at the price, you know, essentially you're looking at a bike, a factory edition that's around 10.5 to 10.8. So under $11,000. I just honestly, I don't believe that when riding them that I need the cone valves. I had these revalved by the ride shop. I've ridden them with the original OEM valving and they run great, but as you can see, I'm a little over my teenage swimsuit weight, so I have to have everything resprung anyway. So these have to be opened up, higher kg springs, both on the shock and the fork. So since we're opening up anyways, and Johnny at the ride shop, he's working with Factory 1 Sherco. They're testing actively hard enduro. It's kind of hard to go wrong. So basically I went from $7,000, a little over $7,000 in cone valves and a track shock to essentially spending about $600, including both the fork springs and the shock spring. A huge difference in price. When we look at the other things, as we know, it comes with a fan. I'm using the stock exhaust. So I'm gonna kind of go back and try to rethink. So the only things on the last hard enduro I raced on a 2020 Sherco, not a 21 Sherco. I'm gonna race the next race, hopefully King of Motos. Hope you guys run it. We're gonna be there. Come see us, hang out. It'll be fun. I'm gonna be running the 21. The only things that I can recall that I've done is I have had the suspension revalve. Like I said, that whole package is about $600. Other than that, we haven't changed anything. So we can add up that price. I mean, really the only thing you can do is skid plate 140, bing, radiator guards 240, bing, rear disc protector 140 bucks, bing, PHDS 275 bucks, bing, grips 20 bucks, bing, mooses, it's going to be a moose no matter what you put on it. And that is essentially all I've done with the bike. Comes with a mapping switch, and here I am. I'm just saying, I can ride anything. No one's paying me to do this. Currently right now, this is a little more exotic. I'm really liking the adventure and the experience of it, and maybe that's why. I've religiously ridden KTM for 30 plus years, and now, you know, I've gone to the Blue Monster. However, in 2016, I had an affair with a hot red Temptress. It was called a Beta. And me and the Beta, they've come a long way since 2016. They're awesome bikes too, so don't get too hateful. But that Beta was one of the lower Betas. Didn't fit my riding scenario. They've come a long ways in the industry as well. It's really exciting to see more option and more bikes. You know, and I guess maybe at the end of the day, I'd like to say it's money, but it's really not. I did start out in a rented trailer and just basically a white trash kid. I'm just kind of an older white trash kid now, but I can afford to ride what I want to ride, so I feel very fortunate. This is almost twice the price as this, the way I have it set up. And I'm choosing to ride this. Yes, it's essentially half the price. That's a pretty good value, but could I say it's all value? Not necessarily. Unfortunately, the KTM, who's been so awesome for so long, for whatever reason, I feel a bit let down with the TPI. And if any of you are out there saying, hey, the TPI is perfect, come on, nothing's fucking perfect. This isn't perfect, this isn't perfect, but I tell you what, all of the bikes, they're about as close to fucking perfect as you can get, except for Yamaha, because you won't put an electric starter on. Come on, man. There's one other thing. This is a worldwide exclusive. This has not been scripted or planned. If you drowned a Sherco, I just found this out, and I can't take credit because this comes from Mitch Carville. Props, Mitch. This bike has a bolt right here at the bottom of the, I guess you'd call it the bottom end. And if you flood this bike and you fill this engine with water, which how would you do that? Check out our YouTube videos, subscribe, whatever they say. Everyone says the same thing. Smash it, hit it, I don't know, lick it. You pull out this bolt, it's my understanding you don't have to take the spark plug and all the water goes out. And it's the same with UTVs as well. I was not aware of this. It's also on the Sherco 4-strokes. It's pretty cool stuff. I'm looking forward, kind of looking forward to trying it. I'd prefer not to try it on my bike. I'd like to, I know a guy. Yeah, I know a guy. His name's Matt Spears. So we'll try it on his bike. Anyways, thought that was pretty cool. See the rotational stability? Another great point as it falls over. If you have questions, comments about anything, our experience with suspension, our experience with how to set up a professional level KTM, which I believe we are going to do one as well in part of the comparison. We have a 2021 that we're looking at setting up very similar to this. We'll go through it. Hopefully we can help you out there. Also with the Sherco, again, there's not as much to do, and that's kind of one thing that's making it a bit exciting for me, is that I'm kind of getting away with less. And who knows, maybe my skill levels become better, that I don't need all the doodads that I thought I needed. Maybe I don't need half this stuff. I don't know. Still trying to figure things out. It's only been 30 years. All the bikes are for fun. They'll all go anywhere with the right pilot on them. And these guys, I am definitely falling in love with the tunability of that carb. It doesn't let me down. I've got mine jetted correctly and the thing rips. It's simple. That's just kind of the way I'm going for now. But hey, life is long. I still got a few years left. Who knows what I'll be on. We've reignited the Inside Enduro podcast. We've got some fun different directions there. If you guys have comments of what you'd like to hear on the podcast or even possible guests, whether it's racing, whether it's how not to be fat like me, let's hear some of your thoughts. We have some fun guests coming up. Oh, by the way, Happy New Year, everyone. Great to see you in 21. So hopefully we're racing, traveling, doing all those things. It's been kind of hard on us with the podcast because with people not traveling, you have less guests available. So we've been basically reduced to the local bar and pulling people out after 2 a.m. So hopefully we can get some better guests. But if you have any questions, if you have any content that you would like to see, hey, even maybe a guest you'd like to see, we have some connections. Yeah, we'll try and make it happen for you. Again, we appreciate you subscribing, thumbs up. We're here to be informative and to have a good time, man.